Okay, let's continue, right? This is review, but let's put it all on the same page. So I'm putting it on the bottom of this page where I have the axis of symmetry and the vertex and the maximum and the minimum. We're going to put the y-intercept and the x-intercept all on this same page so that it's all in one place. Okay, and it should be even facing your other notes on the graphs of parabola, so you should really be able to reference just this one set of notes. Okay, for the y-intercept, remember this? We plug in 0 for x. Okay, so my example equation, which is up at the top of my page here, y equals x squared plus 2x minus 8. I'm going to plug in 0 wherever I see an x. Right, so this becomes 0 plus 0 minus 8. That gets me y equals negative 8. So my y-intercept is 0, negative 8. Okay, now x-intercept, if you remember, this one was a little bit trickier because here when we plug in 0 for y, we end up with like a whole equation like this equals 0. Now here you have a choice. You can solve by factoring, okay, or quadratic formula. Okay, so let's take a look, right? It looks like this, x squared plus 2x minus 8 equals 0, right? Because I plugged in 0 for y, all this equaled y, I'm going to make it equal to 0 instead. So in this case, I notice that this is an equation that I can pretty easily factor, so I'm going to factor it. But remember, quadratic formula works with any equation, okay? So for the quadratic formula, like this works with any equation, so you can always choose to use the quadratic formula, okay? In fact, here's this equation, the quadratic formula. Okay, this is what we've just been working on. I'm actually not asking you to copy this because we just did this, right? So I'm going to just quickly review solving by factoring, but if you remember, right, I would just find a, b, and c. I plug in, I simplify this junk. In this case, I got square root of 36, simplified to 6, found my 2 answers. Okay, so here are my 2 answers. That's the quadratic formula. You're familiar with it. We've been doing it. Okay, but if I'm just going to go back to solving by factoring, because in this case, I notice that it's not too hard to factor. I'm just looking for 2 numbers that multiply to negative 8 and add to 2. And so I'm going to do that. But remember, quadratic formula is always an option. But here I notice, okay, if I do plus 4 and minus 2, 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, and 4 minus 2 is positive 2. Okay, remember I can do this, right? I say, okay, well, if this times this equals 0, then either this must equal 0 or this must equal 0. I get x equals negative 4. And so my left x-intercept is negative 4, 0, because that is negative, and this one's going to be positive. Okay, and here are my x-intercepts. And notice again, it's the same as if I had used the quadratic formula. That would have been totally fine. And the quadratic formula is probably what you should choose most of the time because it works every time. And factoring kind of only works if you take a look and you're like, oh, I think I can factor that.